let's dive in. So today I'm talking to you about the 5 reasons your high-end program is not selling right now and is not selling yet, because it will be, right? So we're going to talk about the 5 things that I really want to cover with you. And my goal is that you will be able to take this today and make some changes potentially and run with it. So I want this to be a really value-packed training for you, okay? So that you could, like, it's not just some fluffy stuff, and I'm not just like promoting our program. I'm really giving you stuff that I coach with my clients and that you can take today and go and run with it and make changes. And if you're here live, I am happy to coach you live. So put your questions in the comments as I go through. Once I begin, I will just stream. I have my notes in front of me of the 5 things I want to cover. And then at the end, I will open it up for questions. So if you stick around and you're here live, I will actually coach you on, any question you have based on what I cover today, what might be coming up for you as it relates to your offer and your program and your pricing, okay? So should I dive in? I'm gonna dive in. You ready? Okay, so I'm gonna start with, there's really no intro needed. I'm just gonna dive into the 5 reasons because we all know, I just wanna remind you that if you have lost your belief that high ticket coaching, high-end coaching, high-end masterminds, high-end programs are selling, if you've lost belief that they are, or that they're actually not selling anymore, it's a total limiting belief. So I just wanna squash that right now. Every single day, and every single week, millions is being sold in the transformational coaching industry, and that is not stopping. It is going to grow exponentially over the next 2 years. And I come from Wall Street. I watch industries. I watch the market. I know this is sort of naturally part of my brain. And so I want you guys to get this, that if you're not yet playing the biggest game that you can play, now is the time to step into it. Because this industry is going to grow. And I don't just mean that I want you to capitalize, but I do want you to capitalize, because the more capital you have, the more financial resources you have, the bigger difference you can make on the planet while you're here. But I don't just say it around capitalizing on the industry and taking advantage of the industry. I mean it so that you can leave behind the old programs that are having you think in scarcity and poverty consciousness and worried about paying your bills. It is draining and leaking your energy, and that is not the highest and best expression of you on the planet right now. So now is the time, okay? So the number 1 mistake that I see most coaches making with their marketing is that it's not something the market wants. So if you've created a program around your gifts and talents, and you've kind of really tapped into what your heart wants, and you really want to help people with X, but no one is searching for that thing, and no one really cares about whether that happens for them, it won't sell. And this is a little bit hard to, let's say, reconcile, like make it come together, right? Because we want you to live in your wants and desire and your gift and like what your soul wants to give to the world. And then we have to marry that with what the market is asking for. Otherwise, we don't have a business. Okay? Just point blank. This is what the number 1 mistake that I see for spiritual women, and mostly men tend not to do this, because they really don't have this problem where they really want to be in their creative expression. So I want to help women be in their creative expression and also give the world what it's ready for right now, what the market is asking for right now, okay? And this is really important as it relates to business. So us women, we tend to really struggle with this. We over and over and over again, I see this, and we have a resistance to giving the market what it wants because it feels like maybe like a dumbed down version of our gifts. It doesn't feel like the highest expression of our gifts, etc., etc. You can even put in the comments what comes up for you when you think you have to give the market what they want, right? There's resistance there, or there's something there about that. So that's the number 1 mistake. And how to combat that, right, is to really start doing some market research, okay? And then to get way more specific with your offer, and that your offer solves the problem that people want, okay? And so obviously, you know, if you work with me directly, that's what we do. We make sure that your offer is something the market wants, you know, but that is something that you can do on your own. It's a quicker way to have a coach work with you on that, but that is something that you can do on your own. You can look at what people are searching for in social media as it relates to your niche or your area of focus. Your body of work. You can really start to look at what are people asking for? Where are the comments the most on certain posts? You know, what do people want? What are they interested in? And I always say to my clients that because someone else does what you do, it's a very positive thing, because it just shows you that there's a market for what you do. Yeah. If you can't find anyone else who does what you do, and partly because you've tried to differentiate yourself, the issue there is that there probably isn't a market, meaning there aren't people buying that. Okay. All right. Second reason, why people love you but don't buy from you. Why people love you and don't buy from you. So you've probably had this experience on social media where you're posting and you're sharing your heart and you're being authentic and you're maybe even being vulnerable, because we know that that is currency in today's time, right? Being more real and raw and open with people is definitely the way to connect more. And so you can definitely build an audience and people can fall in love with you, and they're like commenting like, oh my God, I love what you stand for, but they're not buying your programs. And the reason for that, the number one reason for that, is that you are not clear enough in the results of your offer. People buy results, people buy changes, people buy systems. People need to know that when they part with their money, they're gonna get a certain result. And so while they might love you and love what you stand for, your offer and what it will help them achieve isn't clear enough. Okay? Because people don't buy your program, they don't buy the modules of your program, they don't buy how long the coaching is or how many sessions it is, they don't buy any of that. They actually buy the results that they need in their life. That's what they're investing in. It's all about them. So if that's not clear to them, what they're gonna get from your program, they won't buy it. Okay, hope that's clear. If questions come up, drop them down. Number 3, the 3 S's that make an irresistible offer. So this goes back to number 1 that I talked about. It should be searchable. People should be searching for this. So if you're trying to get women to be more sensually awakened, because we have a lot of relationship intimacy, you know, coaches in here. If you're trying to sell that, it's not that people don't want that, but women aren't necessarily searching for that at night, you know, when they're like, can't sleep. They don't wake up and go on Google and say, how can I become more sensually awake? Let's go a little bit further. If they have that desire to become more sensually awake, it's for what? It's to ease a pain of something. And that pain is probably related to pain they experience in their body. Either they're disconnected from their body, they're unable to orgasm, and that's affecting what? Their relationship, or the lack thereof of a relationship. And that is the driver. So if you don't hit the driver, it won't sell and people won't get it, and they won't be searching for it, which is what we're talking about here. The driver is to relieve pain and to get a result. It needs to be, second S is it needs to be solution based. So again, results oriented. Your program has to be really clear in the results that people will get by the end of the program. They have to really understand what you do and the result that you essentially promise them from working your system, or what you've come up with. And this is important, and this is a huge step for women when they feel insecure or unworthy, right? All of these wounds that come up, because it means that we have to step in at a greater level to our own confidence and feel like we're worthy and feel like what we have to share is unique and it's valuable. all right? But you have to have a solution-oriented offer, okay? It can't be just, what's an example of a non-solution-oriented offer? It is that, let's go back to the first example. So a woman would become more sensually awake. It's ambiguous, so it's not specific enough, and it doesn't relieve a pain. So while that can be like a tenet or a facet of the program, and that's something that maybe would be a benefit that she wants to receive, the main result of the program needs to be something more specific to her pain, and solution oriented to that main pain, okay? And specific, solution-based, and searchable, which we talked about in the first point here, the first reason, which is that people need to be searching for it. So take this woman, she has an issue. What is she searching for? Like if she were to go to Google, what is she searching for? This is where your mindset has to be. So like for business programs like mine, people are searching how to make more money in their coaching business, right? That has to be very clear to me that it's like spiritual women who want to make more money from their spiritual business. And that has to be really clear, and it has to be a main point. And money and business is something that keeps someone up at night. And so you also want to think about what keeps your person up at night. What is the main pain that they have? And the bonus S here is that it's soulful, because we do want to, reference that we are in a certain time where authenticity and vulnerability and being raw and sharing your story has a currency. It is so valuable. It is so needed. Like no one buys from someone that they don't know, they don't like, and they don't love, right? So, and they don't trust. The know, like, love, and trust factor. So they have to feel you. They have to feel you. And so this kind of goes back to that number 2, which is why people love you but don't buy from you. You got the soulful down, which is awesome. But if you don't have that, then you need to bring more soul into your offer, because people do need to feel you, and people don't buy a program just for a program. They actually buy you. They buy it from you specifically. Like, why there's so many business coaches out there. People buy from me because they connect with me and my story and what I bring to the table. And the same is true for you. So the fourth, or the bonus S there, is soulful, and you have to bring your soul into your business. Okay. Number 4 reason is the masculine machine type descriptors you need in your marketing, even for the feminine buyer. I mentioned this already, but I'll hone it in here, which is that people buy systems. It's just the way that our brain works. So when women, even for the feminine buyer, right? Women are definitely more sensual. We're more soft. We're more nourishing. We're more, we're less like logical and analytical and systematic, right? But when we buy, the psychology of buying behavior, even for a woman, is that she's still gonna part with money, and she needs to know that this thing is gonna work. And systems make us feel like something's gonna work. Like someone has developed a system that works for other people, and therefore it must work for me. And it's just part of the psychology of how our brain works in making buying decisions. So a lot of coaches, what I see, you're changing offers all the time. So people are confused about what you do, perhaps, and you talk about your program differently all the time. Where you should bring some complexity and some interesting different factors in your posts and your emails and what you're sharing about it. But essentially, at the end of the day, people need to know that there's a system that you plug them into, and it works. And it has worked for other people, and you showcase testimonials. So systems, processes, blueprints, I don't really like that word, but and maybe you don't like the word system, and you don't have to use system, but like the point here is that you even in your mind know that there's 6 steps for someone to go through in your program to get them from point A to point B. People buy coaching so they can go from point A to point B faster, so they don't make the same mistakes of someone who does it on their own. That's mainly why people buy coaching. So they're investing in you to tell them what's the faster route, what's the sure route. Tell me what works, what has worked for other people, and what will likely, with probability, work for me. So that needs to be there, and I would encourage you to start thinking about your system, especially if you want to scale. There's no way to scale your coaching business if you're selling multiple programs all the time and if you don't have a system like around your signature program. So what you want to do is start to systematize it, so then we can, what we do in our programs as well, is help you to productize your business and your offer, which means that you can go from high ticket to low ticket. We actually encourage high ticket to low ticket instead of low ticket to high ticket. So you start at high ticket, you sell a certain amount, and you get to a base level revenue every month. And then you can add your lower ticket program, which will be sold passively, which will be sold online. It's a great way to reach the masses because there's a lower barrier of entry because the investment is lower and it's more accessible to people. So you can't create that without starting to systematize how people work with you and what it is your body of work is. So really start to think about what is your body of work and how can you systematize it or make it a step-by-step process so it's simple for people. And then, okay, number 5 is the belief hack to get you into 1000% alignment with the value of your offer. So one of the main things I hear from a lot of women that we work with and that we talk to every day, that they want to sell high ticket, but they still have a lot of murky funkiness around charging, say, $5,000 for their program. And so the number one thing you need in order to do that is belief. If you don't believe that your program is worth $5,000, you will never sell it. Even if a coach tells you it's totally worth $5,000, if you don't believe it, you won't sell it. So the biggest barrier to scaling or growing your coaching business is sales skills, which we've been talking about like last week in our lives. And we focus a lot on in High Ticket Empress because getting good at sales is really like the most important skill that you can learn, but you need to learn it in order to have a successful coaching business that provides for you and your family and grows and reaches the world, right? Because you came here to deliver a certain ministry, a certain message, and that needs to get out into the world, but you do need to become good at sales because otherwise no one's gonna experience your work, period, right? So how do you become aligned with a $5,000 offer if right now you're like, shit, I mean, I know what I do is great, but I don't know if people should pay $5,000, right? So you know right away that a lot of that has to do with like what you spend and how you can sort of think about how people spend money. And so maybe you think, I would never spend $5,000 on coaching, and so therefore why would someone spend it with me? Well, number one, they won't. So if you've never spent what you want to charge, you won't be able to sell it. It's just like the way that it works. So go out and invest in a high ticket program. And believe me, we've seen this with so many of our clients. As soon as they do, then they're able to calibrate. It's literally like a new energy calibration. They're able to calibrate at the high ticket level. So many women are trying out there to sell high ticket and they don't invest high ticket. They're trying to buy 197 programs or 997 programs to teach them how to sell high ticket, and they've never invested high ticket. So it just doesn't work. But your belief is everything. So clean that stuff up. Make sure you're investing at the same level you expect people to invest with you. And then what you really want to think about is, say you do health coaching, and you know like you've had amazing successes with people, and you know that if someone can literally change their life, and not just like their weight or the way they look, it's like literally on a cellular level this person is completely changing their paradigm of living, right? And their trajectory of their wellness for their entire life. Like, what is that worth to someone? What is that worth? That is worth, I mean, more than we can quantify, right? You're not only changing it for yourself, right? That person's not only changing it for themselves, they're changing it for their children. They're changing it for future generations, you know, to change bad habits around eating, to, you know, eating addictions, body dysmorphia, having, you know, like a really distorted view of their body, having self-hate, and all the deeper currents that cause those things. When you can help someone with that, wow. I mean, $5,000 is nothing. Is nothing. And so hopefully you get that when I say that. And of course a coach can tell you that, but you need to really believe it. And that's the hack. That's, you gotta really go deep and go, what is this worth to this, you know, to this woman, say we were talking about before. Maybe just becoming more sensually alive today is not something that she feels is $5,000 worth. So therefore you have a disconnect. But saving her marriage might be worth $5,000. Attracting her beloved might be worth $5,000 to her. Yeah. So that's when you got to go to the deeper pain, like the deeper thing that's like rubbing her or him. And that's when you can align with like, whoa, that investment is nothing. That investment is nothing. Okay. So when we teach people how to go, like literally they can scale their business to $100,000 a month with what we teach. How can I even put a price on my program, right? It's like, you know, it's a vehicle to become a millionaire. Using your gifts, the best way to become a millionaire. So yeah, that's really, you really need to feel that in your body though. You can't just intellectualize it. You got to bring it down into your field and really feel it. And once you do, wow, the people who come to you will be different. The clients who potentially want to work with you will be different, because you will just be calibrating like with such belief, and everyone will feel it. So, okay. Those are the 5 reasons. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to take some questions right now. Corinne said, when there's a system to follow, it's clear, efficient, and works. Also feels more safe for me personally. If there's no system, it feels chaotic. So exactly, like it's like that, you know, our nervous systems are looking for safety always. And so when we feel like there's a proven system, you know, and I understand, like you can't prove or guarantee anything to anyone, because how your client shows up is really the dictator of how successful they will be. But if you have a proven system and you know that it works because people have been through it, then, you know, they will feel like this is a safe investment, and they'll need to feel that. They'll need to feel some of that surety. So a system is really important, and a lot of spiritual women are ambivalent and ambiguous around creating systems because it feels masculine, and I get that. And this is where we develop and heal our relationship with our own inner masculine, and we're able to leverage that piece of us that needs to be there in order to grow into our full expression. Thank you for being here, and I'd love to hear how this integrates for you and if you've made any changes in your offer from this training. Lots of love.